Shri Mahaganapataye Namah Saraswatyai Namah Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Paradevataye Namah Om Sri Ramachandraya Namah Sadguru Saishwaraye Namah Om Sairam Om Asahayasahayaya Namah. Now let us hear the chapters of Sri Sai SATCHARITAM written by Hemat Pant, based on Sri Sai SATCHARITAM written in Malayalam by N.Somashekaran, translated by Sulini.V.Nair. Chapter 5. In Shirdi yet again. Chand Patil was a wealthy Muslim gentleman from Dhoop village in Aurangabad. He was on his way to Aurangabad when he lost his mare. He searched high and low for 2 months but was unable to find it. Disappointed, he was on his way back carrying the saddle on his shoulders. He had walked close to 9 kilometers when he saw a fakir sitting under a mango tree. This fakir wore a kafni, which is a cap on his head, and had a short stick under his arm. He was getting ready to smoke a chilim. That was when Chand Patil walked across, disappointed and fatigued. Seeing him, the fakir called out as though to a friend, "Do join me for a smoke. You can also rest a bit in the shade." Hearing this, Chand Patil walked towards the fakir. "Where are you headed? Why are you carrying the saddle?" asked the fakir. "I lost my mare," Chand Patil said sadly. "Look for it over there," said the fakir, pointing nearby. Chand Patil obeyed and to his great amazement found his mare. Wonderstruck and thrilled, he went near the fakir with his mare, convinced that he was a great saint. The fakir asked Patil to sit near him. Then he thrust his prong forcefully into the ground, pulled out a live ember which he put on the pipe. Next, he hit a short stick on the ground and water started to ooze from that point. The fakir wet a cloth with the water, wrapped it around the pipe and started to smoke. Chand Patil was beside himself with wonder seeing all this. After he had smoked, the fakir gave the pipe to Chand Patil to smoke as well. Deeply moved, Chand Patil invited the fakir with great devotion to accept his hospitality. The fakir accepted the invitation and stayed at his house for a few days. Chand Patil's wife's brother's son was getting married, and the bride was from Shirdi. Patil and his family went to Shirdi along with the marriage party to attend the wedding. The fakir also accompanied them. The wedding went off beautifully and the guests dispersed afterwards, but the fakir chose to stay back. That was the beginning of days of blessed good fortune for the small village of Shirdi. When the marriage party came to Shirdi, the carts were stopped near Khandoba temple in the field of Bhagat Mahal Sapati. Everyone, along with the fakir, alighted there. Mahal Sapati saw the young fakir and addressed him, "Ya Sai," which means "Welcome Sai." Hearing this, the others also started addressing him as Sai, and thus Sai Baba came to be known by the name Sai. It was thus that Sai came to live in Shirdi in a deserted masjid. He remained ever blissful. At times, he stayed at the Maruti temple, and at times in the Chavadi. At other times, he stayed with Devidas, who is a yogi who had been living in Shirdi much before Baba came there. Before long, a yogi named Janaki Das Gosai arrived in Shirdi. Baba and he became very fond of each other and spent time together absorbed in the highest bliss. Gangagir was a tapasvi who frequented Shirdi. When he first met Baba, he was watering plants, holding pitchers of water in both hands. Seeing Baba's face, this Gangagir said publicly, "This is a priceless gem. Shirdi is blessed by Sai's presence. He is not ordinary." Anandnath of Yavala Mutt, a disciple of Akalkot Maharaj, was wonderstruck when he met Baba. He said, "He is a precious jewel. No one realizes it now, but there will come a time when you will remember these words of mine." In the early days, Baba grew his hair long and dressed like an athlete. Rahata was a place 3 miles away from Shirdi. When Baba visited Rahata, he brought back small plants of marigold and jasmine and planted them with his own hands. He himself watered and tended to them. A devotee named Vaman Tatya gave him 2 unbaked earthen pitchers every day, which Baba filled and watered the plants. Afterwards, he kept them at the foot of the neem tree. Since they were unbaked, they would soften and break. Tatya would give him fresh ones the next day. For about 3 years, Baba tended to the plants in this manner, and the result was a beautiful garden. Bhai Krishnaji was an ardent devotee of Akalkot Maharaj. He worshipped his Guru's picture daily with deep devotion. One day, he had a desire to visit Akalkot and offer prostrations at his beloved deity's feet. He felt that his sadhana would find fulfillment only if he did so. So he started preparing for the journey. The night before he was to travel, his Guru appeared in his dream and said, "I am at Shirdi now. Come to Shirdi and get my blessings." For the devotee, that was not a mere dream, but his Guru's command. He journeyed to Shirdi and had Baba's darshan. Then he stayed at Shirdi itself for 6 months. He prepared padukas and installed them under the neem tree with due ceremonies and formalities under the supervision of Dada Kelkar. And Upasani, on an auspicious day of Shravan between mid-July and mid-August in 1912 CE. A Dikshit Brahmin was also appointed for regular worship. A devotee called Saguna Nayak was entrusted with the management. Mohidin Thamboli was a wrestler who also sold betel quid. Once, Baba and he disagreed on some matters and had a fight that ended in a wrestling match. Baba was defeated. That was the beginning of a transformation. Baba changed his dress and manner of living. He started wearing a kafni and a waistband and covered his head, tying a piece of cloth. He sat on a sackcloth and slept on another. He dressed simply in torn and worn out clothes. He often said, "Poverty is far better than kingship because God is a friend of the poor." Gangagir too was fond of wrestling. Once while engaged in wrestling, he felt very exhausted. Suddenly, these words resounded in his ears. "Wrestle with God. It is much better to wear out the body thus." He experienced intense dispassion and renounced the world. He established an ashram on the banks of the Godavari near Puntambe and lived there with his disciples. Baba remained under the neem tree most of the day. If asked anything, he would answer. He was not too fond of interacting with people. At times, he sat under the babool tree near the stream on the outskirts of the village. Some evenings, he walked to Nimgaon. There, he often visited the home of Bala Saheb Dengle, whom he really loved. Bala Saheb had a younger brother called Nana Saheb. Though married twice, he had no children. This caused him great sorrow. It was then that he had the opportunity to receive Baba's darshan. By Baba's grace, he was blessed with a child. From then on, Baba's fame spread far and wide, and people began to flock to Shirdi. During the day, Baba was surrounded by devotees. At night, he slept alone in the dilapidated masjid. All that Baba owned were a chilim, tobacco, a tamral, which is a tin pot, his long kafni, a piece of cloth around his head, and a short stick. The piece of white cloth tied on his head was twisted like a matted hair and flowed down behind his left ear. He did not wear shoes or sandals. To ward off the cold, he always sat before the dhuni, his hand resting on the wooden railing facing south. Into the flames of the dhuni, he offered not just firewood, but also desire, egoism, and the mind constantly chanting Allah Malik. Devotees came there for his darshan. Before Baba started living in the masjid, he had stayed at Takiya, a Muslim place of prayer, for some time. While living there, Baba wore anklets and danced with joy, singing sweetly. In the early days, Baba was very fond of lighting lamps. He borrowed oil from shopkeepers. After a while, the shopkeepers became averse to giving oil to Baba for free. One day, they secretly decided among themselves to discontinue the practice. Baba, as usual, went to them with his vessel to collect oil, only to have no oil given to him that day. Without any reaction and with an unruffled mind, Baba returned to the masjid and placed wicks in all the lamps. He examined the oil tin to find a tiny bit of oil stuck to it. He poured some water into the tin and drank it. Once again, he poured some water into the tin and filled all the lamps with it. Then he lit the wick. Wonders of wonders! The lamps burnt bright and they continued to illuminate the masjid all through the night. The shopkeepers, who had been watching him secretly, were dumbstruck. They fell at his feet and sought pardon. The ever merciful Baba forgave and consoled them. Jawahar Ali, who belonged to Ahmednagar, was an eloquent learned scholar who could repeat the entire Quran. Many devout people used to pay him their respects. Once he left Ahmednagar and came to stay at Rahata with his disciples. At Rahata too, many people began to respect him. With people's help, he started to build an Igda near the Veerabhadra temple. However, on account of some quarrel over this, he had to leave Rahata. He came to Shirdi and had Baba's darshan. He started staying in the masjid with Baba. Jawahar Ali considered Baba like another disciple. Baba did not show him the slightest displeasure as well. The Guru had not the slightest idea of the depth and wisdom of the disciple who is Sai. But the disciple knew the limitations of the Guru, acting Guru Jawahar Ali. And yet, Baba did not express any of it. He served Jawahar Ali very well. After some time, Jawahar Ali shifted back to Rahata with his disciple Sai. The people of Shirdi did not approve of this. They went in deputation to bring Baba back to Shirdi. They met Baba and told him of the purpose of this visit. However, Baba was not willing to agree. "Return quickly," he told them. "The fakir, Jawahar Ali, is extremely short-tempered and you will have huge problem if he sees you." Just then, Jawahar Ali came there and got furious, learning of the villagers' intention. However, the villagers were unwilling to relent. Finally, Jawahar Ali had to give in. But he found it impossible to leave Baba and decided to return with him to Shirdi. There was a wise, learned scholar called Devidas in Shirdi. The young Devidas had beautiful features and bright, brilliant eyes. People really loved him. Many important people had accepted him as their guru. The villagers once took Jawahar Ali to Devidas and they both indulged in a debate over religious matters. Devidas emerged victorious and eventually Jawahar Ali had to leave Shirdi. Jawaharlal went to Bijapur. With time, he became aware of his ignorance. He recognized his folly of considering himself the Guru and Baba the disciple. Stung by remorse, he sought refuge at Baba's feet. Baba still treated him with the greatest respect. Baba's ways are mysterious and unfathomable. To be blessed with the knowledge and liberation, we must cast aside ego and false pride and make earnest efforts with the attitude of a true disciple. Just as the sun and darkness cannot exist together, the jnani and duality cannot be together. The jnani who realizes and experiences all of creation within himself cannot perceive differences. This story is told here as Mahalsapati, the great devotee, narrated it. I, who am the lowest of the low, prostrate at Sai's holy feet. All our sins will be burnt away by listening to the sacred Satcharita. End of chapter 5. Om Asahayasahayaya namah.